Welcome back to part 4. So, as we learned in the previous episode, is that I was basically adding different types of oscillators. So you had choices from a sawtooth, I believe it was a sine wave and a triangle wave. So in this episode, what I'm going to do now is a lot more advanced. We're going to create multiple oscillators. So as you can see here, I've got 1, 2, and 3. I've got 3 oscillators, all with their own different pitch control, width control, and fine. Different options of which wave. So on this one, I've used a pulse and a saw and a triangle. Functions on filter, and the filters on each oscillator. And the ADSR is standard, and then a master control. So So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is getting into the advanced stages of Reaktor. It's still not, we're still not hitting the points of too much, but this will indicate some math. So we will be using some mathematics in this tutorial. So, all right, let me get to the instrument screen. So as you can see here, I've got 1, 2, and 3 oscillators. So what you'll have at the moment is from the previous tutorial is you'll have a sawtooth, a sine wave, and a triangle wave, all here. All your oscillators will be here. What this is here, these are a thing called macros. So when you click on it, it will bring you here into another screen with a pulse, sawtooth, and a triangle. So you have your different waves here, all inputting into a filter with a switch and an output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I did this really simply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, I'm going to open up an ensemble, and I'm going to open up part 3. So I don't want to save that, I want to leave it. So this is where we were. Right. So this tutorial, so what we're going to do, so let's go back into the instrument screen, and this is what we've got. So what you want to do first of all is you want to right click and go insert module, and then if I type in OSC, what it'll bring me to here is different oscillator choices. So what I want to find is pulse, pulse, saw, and a triangle oscillators. Click on that, and that will create a macro for you with all the oscillators that are needed in there. So what you want to do here is you want to create copy and paste, and you want to do 3 of these. Oh, there we go. I've got a few too many. There we go. So we've got 3 of them. So what you can do now is you can delete all of the oscillators you've already made, as you've now got 3 different oscillators. So for now, if I go to the panel, I'll show you these and what they look like. So yeah, there we go. You can see now we have got different oscillators, all with their own pitch, fine, and pulse width as well. So if I go back into the instrument menu here, and for now we'll keep this. We'll get rid of the switch because we don't need the switch, and now we'll create a master fader. So what you want to do is you want to right click, built-in module, panel, fader. And you want to change the name of this in the top left, to master. There we go. Now this is where we use math. So what we're trying to do now is, as a master, they have different in Reaktor. They use different numbers for the amount of the output signal. So what you want to do is we want to right-click, built-in module, math, multiply. There we are. And we want the master to input into the multiply. And this input will be for our oscillators, which we will use in a second. The output, if I can delete this connection for now, just the connection, not the actual switch. There we are. The output will go into your voice combiners, and then if I go back to the panel, you'll see now we have a master fader, which if I turn this off will have different input values all the way up to 1. Now, Reaktor, as an amplitude indication, their maximum number is 1. And everything in between that, from 0 to 1. So that's the way of looking at that. Now, we do have a master. Now, I won't be able to show you it working just yet because our oscillators aren't connected. And what I've done in this tutorial is I'm going to show you how to use the filters and connect them to each oscillator. So what we want to do is we want to copy the filter we made earlier on, double click into oscillator 1, delete that connection very simply, paste our filter and connect the output of our wave switch into the input of our pole filter, as so. And what that'll do now, if I connect this to the output and tick the switch is always active, remember we have to do that. What that'll do now is if I go into the panel view, we'll see on oscillator 1 we have a filter control with the cutoff and the resonance, and then the different pitches and the different waves you can use. So that's oscillator 1 completed. All we've got to do now is make sure we basically copy what we've done here on our other oscillators. So to do that, if we just delete, just for argument's sake, if we delete the oscillators we already created, but not the one we've just put the filters on, copy and paste that oscillator, as so. There we go. So now we've got 3 oscillators, all with their own filter controls. There we are. Nice. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get sound and we're going to get it all hooked up to the master. So what you want to do for this is you want to go built-in module, math, add, connect all the outputs, into the add, and then the output signal wants to go to the input of the multiplication. You can delete that filter now because we don't need that filter. And then for our ADSRL envelope, what we want to do is we want to connect that all to the amplitude of each individual oscillator. Same with the note pitch. And now we will have sound. But I want to show you and demonstrate exactly how to use what we've created. Now everything's all over the place and I'm going to rearrange it. So again, remember, click on the spanner at the top. And what I like to do for this one particularly is I like to have all my oscillators at the top, my ADSR at the bottom, and then move the filters around in my oscillators. And just have the master on the side. It doesn't matter where it is, but I put mine on the side. Right, so let's move that. And to not confuse us in the long run, let's change the name of the oscillators. So that will be oscillator 1. So oscillator 2. And oscillator 3. Perfect. So now we've got 3 oscillators, all with their own controls. So let's just rearrange it in here as well, and let's keep the pitch at the top, and the width at the bottom, and then the fine in the middle, and then our different choices of waves just at the top. I'm going to change the view of the wave as well. I'm going to put that as a menu, just so it's easier to find what we want. Now, pole filter, the switch. Put the cutoff and the resonance like that, pole filter at the top, that's our navigation, and then the switch at the bottom. So what we want to do is do the same for each one. Now copy paste is our best friend, but in this instance we can't do it. So we're going to have to rearrange that on each one to get it how we want it, which is a bit of a pain. Remember, view, menu, like that, like that. and then put the cut off, switch. So that's our oscillator 1 and our oscillator 2 together. So let's do number 3 now, the last one. And then I will now demonstrate just after this on how the master works. So when we were playing it before, it was clipping. Every time you were playing something, it would clip. You didn't have any control of the output. Whereas now, you do. This won't look like most synthesizers out there. So a lot of synthesizers, they do have their own filter control, but I think for Massive, for example, they kind of route it through macros, whereas now we've got actual view of what each filter is doing on what oscillator, and then the master output will be on the side, and then our attack A, D, S, R, right. So if I go back into the instrument view, you can see right now exactly what we've done, just to make it look a little bit easier, so I can explain each thing. So ADSR is still going into our oscillators. The oscillators are then going from the output into a plus, and then we're plus signal, and then we're multiplying, putting that into a multiplication signal, which then goes into our voice boxes, our voice combiners. So if I show you how that works. Now, at the moment, we're using all triangle waves, so they're just going to cancel each other out. So let's just mess with the pitch. Put that at 12, fine width. Let's mess with the filters, do something a bit random. And then mess with the... There we go. So now what we've done is we've added different oscillators into our synthesizer, and we've added a filter for each individual one rather than having one filter, and a master output. So now we have control with the volume. In the next episode, I'm going to look into LFOs with you, with filters, different filter techniques, and we're going to add that into our synthesizer, and that's going to round up the basics of how to create your own synthesizer. I'm showing you now, I've showed you the basics, I'm now showing you more advanced techniques that you can go into and develop your own different ways of creating a synthesizer. Like I said, the way I've displayed this layout is unique to myself. I haven't copied this layout from anybody. Like I said, I've from the beginning I started with that indicator of what, how the filters are working, but then I've put that on each individual wave, and interface wise you can see how each filter is working and what it's cutting off on the frequency spectrum. Again, this is something that's easy for me. I can see that, and I know what to do now. I know what I'm doing. It's something that suits to my own needs. You can do it to yourself. You can change the interface, like I mentioned earlier on in previous episodes, how you can change it to how you like it. And this is the great thing about Reaktor. You can create a synthesizer from scratch that suits you. And from that you can experiment and just add loads of different things in. For example, in this one, I experimented with the filters, and the different filter types on each one, and now every time I make a sound, it will always sound very different, which is brilliant. Anyway, thank you for watching this episode. I'll see you in part 5.